In Part 1, we explored how Fatal Frame's tagline created an urban legend. Himuro Mansion never existed. The whole thing was marketing. But Fatal Frame 2 and 3 are different. These games don't rely on fabricated legends. They draw from actual Japanese folklore, documented tragedies, real cultural traditions, and recurring nightmares. Tonight, we're diving into the true inspirations behind Crimson Butterfly and the Tormented. This time, the legends are real. And before we dive into these stories, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. This way we can continue bringing this content for you.
Fatal Frame 2 begins with a dream. A nightmare that director Makoto Shibata had after completing the first game. This wasn't ordinary. It was complete, with beginning, middle, and end. The entire narrative of Crimson Butterfly, twins forced to strangle each other, the cursed village, the ritual that went wrong, emerged from one man's subconscious. Producer Kikuchi added layers: detective novels by Seishi Yokomizo, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and unspecified natural disasters. The theme was symmetry. Twins, butterflies, two halves of a whole. The horror comes from tearing those symmetries apart. But the legend that inspired the setting is Sugisawa Village. According to the story, this settlement existed deep in Aomori Prefecture mountains until the late 1920s. Then, one night, a young man went mad. He took an axe and slaughtered every resident. When dawn came, he stood alone among the corpses and killed himself. The massacre was so horrific, legend claims the government erased the village from all maps. In 2000, a TV show investigated and concluded Sugisawa Village exists in a distortion of space-time. Here's the truth. A place called Kosugi once stood in Aomori. Locals called it Sugisawa in dialect. It was abandoned due to depopulation. No massacre, just people moving away. The legend merged this abandoned village with the Tsuyama incident, a very real 1938 mass murder in Okayama Prefecture, 1,000 kilometers away, where a man killed 30 people. Two separate tragedies blurred together to create the Sugisawa legend. This inspired All God's Village in Fatal Frame 2, a settlement that vanished after a ritual failed, where spirits are trapped in endless repetition. The hellish abyss in the game draws from the myth of Izanagi and Izanami, Japan's creation deities. When Izanami died, Izanagi traveled to Yomi, the underworld, to retrieve her. He found her decayed and rotting. She chased him in rage. He barely escaped, sealing the entrance with a boulder. This myth of thin places where the barrier between worlds weakens permeates Japanese culture. Japan's volcanic landscape reinforces these beliefs. The ground rumbles. Hot springs bubble. Earthquakes remind people that forces work beneath their feet. Producer Kikuchi cited The Shining as major inspiration. Isolated location, spirits trapped in loops, corruption of family bonds. The parallels are unmistakable. The game explores this through twin pairs, Sae and Yae, the original doomed twins, Mio and Mayu, the protagonists. When you tear symmetry apart, like a butterfly with a damaged wing, you create something broken that can never be whole again. In the canonical ending, Mio strangles Mayu to complete the ritual and save her sister's soul. An act of love, twisted and terrible. And that's infinitely more disturbing than external possession.
Fatal Frame 3 emerged from recurring nightmares Shibata has had throughout his life. He dreams of a Japanese mansion filled with people in funeral attire. He peers through their face coverings and sees someone he knows, someone dead. He follows them to a funeral, his funeral. Everyone turns toward him. Then he wakes. One night, after his grandfather's hospitalization, he heard slow footsteps climbing stairs outside his door when no one else was home. As a child, Shibata and friends would enter an abandoned house and bring back objects. Once he grabbed a baby doll. When he pulled its string, the voice was distorted. Then he heard metal scraping, an old woman pushing a broken stroller, getting closer. The story ends there. He never says what happened next. For research, Shibata and Kikuchi traveled to Tono in Iwate Prefecture, known throughout Japan as a repository of folklore. They visited a house where an entire room's walls were covered in oshira-sama dolls. These sacred dolls are found throughout Tohoku, one shaped like a woman, one like a horse, wrapped in layers of colorful cloth. According to legend, a girl fell in love with her family's horse. They became husband and wife. Her father, horrified, hanged it from a mulberry tree. The daughter clung to its severed head, which flew to heaven. From this tragedy, oshira-sama became protective deities. Today, oshira-sama are still worshipped in homes throughout Tohoku. These dolls are real, living traditions. Walking into a room where hundreds of them cover the walls, that became the direct inspiration for the doll altars in Fatal Frame 3's Manner of Sleep. The Manner of Sleep exists in dreams. This draws from ancient Japanese beliefs as dreams as portals to the underworld. In traditional Japanese thought, sleep is a liminal state. You exist in between worlds. The boundary is thinner. The dead can reach you more easily. In Fatal Frame 3, those with survivor's guilt dream of the manor. Rei survived a car accident that killed her fiancé. Miku survived Himura Mansion, but her brother died. Kei's niece Mio strangled her twin sister. Each night they're drawn deeper. The tattoo curse spreads. They don't want to escape, they want to stop being the one who survived. This is the game's central horror, grief as a doorway to death, survivor's guilt as an invitation to join the deceased. Unlike previous games that ended in tragedy, Fatal Frame 3 was written to end with hope. Rei survives. She learns to live with loss without joining the dead. The game isn't about defeating evil, it's about learning that remembering the dead doesn't mean joining them. That survivor's guilt, as powerful as it is, can be overcome.
Fatal Frame 2 and 3 draw power from authentic sources. Shibata has genuine nightmares. The research trip to Tono. The Sugisawa legend merging real tragedy and abandoned village. Ancient beliefs about dreams as portals. The myth of Izanagi and Izanami. But more than anything, these games understand grief. The impossible choice between duty and love, the weight of survivor's guilt, the temptation to follow the dead. The oshira-sama dolls are still worshipped. Tono still exists. These aren't dead legends, they're living traditions. The spirits may not be real, but the shadows they cast, the grief, the guilt, the understanding of loss, those are real enough. Fatal Frame 2 and 3 don't need to claim they're based on true stories. The emotions are true. The folklore is real. The nightmares are genuine. And that's what makes these games masterpieces. So, we conclude another video from the Behind the Games series. If there is a game that you'd like to know the inspirations behind the story, leave in the comments. See you in the next video.